Most stories of dragons revolve around them being monsters and tyrants, hoarding wealth and destroying towns in their wake. But there are some who are famed for being guardians and protectors, quasi-divine beings that use their immense power to protect and guide those below them. While almost all dragons have the potential to have this sort of relationship, there is one type that is far more likely to view themselves in this regard, and those are the metallic dragons, a group almost as famous as the chromatics. And I shall start with the strongest of their kind, the gold dragon. They are also known as royal dragons or imperial dragons. They stand proud as magical paladins of justice and good, and some consider them to be the strongest of all of dragon kind. A mighty claim and feat, but few are actually willing to challenge them on this title. See, they are immensely powerful, like all dragons. They are physical powerhouses, as well as capable spellcasters, and golds excel in all of these regards. While in an up-close fight, they might lose to the likes of a red dragon, because its teeth and claws are just stronger than the gold's, but combined with the gold's unrivaled spellcasting capabilities, it gives them the edge over them in the end. With all this in mind, we're actually quite fortunate that they are mostly good entities that help the likes of humanoids, as they could easily subjugate the world should they wish to. But they instead use their wisdom to oversee and guide most of the world, as well as keep monsters and even sometimes other dragons in check. Their wisdom cannot be understated. They are the very definition of world-wise, and most seek them out for the knowledge and guidance, which they are very happy to oblige, given you give them enough tribute, or perhaps if they just look fondly enough upon you. But keep in mind, when interacting with gold dragons, that they are very charismatic, naturally, to the point where they will indirectly indoctrinate you, and try to change the way you think to be more like them. This is for the good of the world, of course, as they see it, but keep in mind that they might not do this intentionally, and it might be a more magical effect they have. While most of their magical power comes from them being sorcerers, most gold dragons tend to also learn a form of wizardry, making them even more magically capable, and some of the most skilled dragons when it comes to the likes of magic. But the most skilled in this regard tend to be more isolated from the world. While still wanting to help people, they usually do so indirectly, if at all. In fact, most gold dragons tend to collect knowledge in many forms, but they have become very fond of books by humanoids, as they are older than the concept of books and grew to love them because of it. Perhaps they viewed them as cute at first, but then started to see the value of them, and now gold dragons are synonymous with them. Some of them are so fond of them now that they spend most of their time within their lair polymorphed into humanoid forms, so that it's easier for them to read. They might even behave and act more like humans when doing so. They are incredibly talented in polymorphing, in fact, to the point where it will be hard to tell if one is in disguise should you meet them in the wild. They often travel the lands disguised as a gallant knight, or perhaps a noble of sorts, or whatever strikes their fancy in truth. To what end depends on the dragon, but I'm sure some do it for fun, but most of them do it to truly see who needs their aid, so that they can better assist them. But do not let their benevolence mislead you. They are still a dragon, and view the world differently to us. They are greater than us, and view themselves as so, and if you ask me, it's justified, as in many ways they are the protectors of this world, more so than any humanoid could possibly be. This even fits into their society. For you see, gold dragons spend a lot of their time alone, but they are very much in contact with all of their kind. And unlike most dragons, they actually have a leader. But unlike the likes of, say, blue dragons, that have one ruler who rules over a region as its master, the gold dragons have one ruler who rules over all gold dragons in the entirety of the world. They are elected by the eldest of their kind, and after that point they are referred to as the Resplendents. But it is mostly a ceremonial title, as it is very rare that an event is needed to be overseen by the ruler of all of Gold Dragon kind. I should of course talk about what they tend to keep in their hoards, as they are very much in line with most dragons in this regard. They love the classical coins and gems, of course, but they have a unique fondness for pearls and the likes of some gems for a very bizarre reason. See, gold dragons can eat almost anything, and they don't really have a average food that they eat on a day-to-day basis. But their favourite food is, bizarrely enough, gems and pearls. They view them as delicacies, and it is for this reason that you will never find pearls within their hoards, and a lot less gems, purely because they eat them. They also have a special fondness for works of art of all sorts, from paintings to writings. They very much love collecting all sets of a work too. In fact, I have had a young gold dragon ask for my autograph, as he kept a collection of my books, and I have to tell you that was both an exhilarating experience and quite a humbling one. And another thing they tend to keep in their hoards is the like of magical items. But I think this is mostly because quite a lot of magical items could also serve as works of art, as most are beautifully made and crafted to an excellence. And this is also quite in line to their studying nature and love for magic in general. Their magical nature is so prevalent that it even links to where they lair. See, they're not that picky when it comes to their lair's location or geography, but they do have a small requirement. They love to lair within areas that were, or at least still are, highly seeping with magical power. The type and origin of the magic does not matter too much, and they all do so for different reasons, perhaps to use the power, or contain it, or maybe even protect it. Regardless, they are drawn to these areas. It also explains why a lot of traps within their lairs are magical in nature, as they are very protective of their hoards. It is something that they view as private and a secretive thing that they don't let most see. Many gold dragons are seen and very much act in a way like adventurers, with some of the older ones acting more like a whole party in and of themselves. But like any other group of adventurers, they may need to come to blows with others over any reason. Some understandably reasonable, but some for very foolish reasons. Regardless, most who live the life of an adventurer need to be ready for the possibility of a fight with a gold dragon. If you are going to fight them, you will need to know its true strengths. See, like all metallic dragons, golds actually possess two types of breath weapons. They have a weaker form of the usual elemental type, this being fire, which they are also immune to, but golds also possess something known as a weakening breath. This is a cloud that they shoot from their mouths that saps the very strength from the body of those caught within it. Dragon slaying equipment works on metallics just fine too, so it will always come in handy when facing the likes of these dragons. But as you'll be able to suspect, they are very gifted in magic, so out spellcasting them is going to be a near impossibility. So make sure you at least have a few people to be up in the dragon's face, hitting it with melee weapons. But back to their more friendly nature for now. Like most dragons, they tend to keep minions of sorts. It is no surprise that they keep all sorts of allies, from the likes of whole adventuring parties to any lawful or good-aligned creatures, be they mythical or not. A lot of elementals tend to work for them now that I think about it. And they are fantastic allies to have, like most metallic dragons, as good-aligned creatures are able to agree with them and work with them, and they are paragons of justice and law. But they actually try to keep a balance between being good and being lawful, which is something that quite a lot of other metallics actually struggle with. But more on them another day. Back to the golds for now. I'd like to note for just a moment about how they affect the region as a whole around their lairs. See, they have some of the more conventional changes that you would expect a dragon to have on the region, But they have a much more fascinating one that I will get to last. The first of the normal ones I will get to is the shifting mist that follows those who enter. It is clear and very easy to see through, but it has a useful aspect. If there is a dangerous creature within their lair and land, the mist will take its form briefly, warning most to stay away. Although I bet it's been a bit misleading sometimes, it might have scared a few people away. But they have another useful effect on the land. They make runic-styled carvings leading to those in need of their location, to the dragon's lair, that fade as quickly as they appear. This helps those find the dragon's lair, and those who are truly in need of their assistance. And lastly, I will touch on the more interesting effect. If one was to sleep within the dragon's domain, the dragon may enter their dreams with a telepathic link should it wish to. They may do this for all sorts of reasons, maybe to help them, warn them, or scare them away, or perhaps even to just have a conversation with them for fun. It's a very strong ability, if situational. They are seen as creatures of balance by some, but from personal experience I can say that they tend to be a lot more fickle at times. This even includes how they mate. See, unlike most dragons, golds don't follow any convention or consistency in this regard. They are a lot more like humanoids in this matter. Some mate for life after years of courtship, some have one-night stands for fun. Regardless, they have a family life akin to that of humanoids, so each family is going to have its exceptions and be a little different from one another. So knowing their reproduction is something that we're just not going to know without asking them. And in fairness, it's really none of our business, but it's still interesting to know. But they are usually very good carers and parents that properly raise their young, even if they are single parents. Something they commonly do is travel with their young, teaching them life lessons and worldly wisdom. And a lot of them sometimes send their children to the most trusted allies and confidants to be educated by them, as a ward for a few years, to give their young a chance to develop their own opinions and worldviews. They try to be good parents, and are successful for the most part. They are again on par to humanoids when it comes to this, but compared to the likes of most dragons, that's probably a good thing. They are caring for the most part. I'd like to give an example of a gold dragon I actually worked for quite a while I might add. See, he is an ancient gold dragon called Tesh the Seer, and he was an adventurer of sorts. But over the years he became unable to be everywhere at once, so he had to become a patron for newer adventurers. It was quite helpful having his guidance as a young wizard, I might add. I learned so many spells from him when I was younger. I often think back to those days we studied and read together. A young me with a hot drink in hand, eagerly asking questions to a wiser dragon towering over me, stroking the whiskers on his face as if they were a beard. My family and his had always had an alliance, but we were more than just allies. I like to think that we were truly friends. He even chose me to be one of the educators of one of his children when I was much older. For a time, I travelled with his daughter, Kyoria. And let me tell you, she was quite the handful in her younger days. A rebellious teen by dragon standards. Something she had in common with Zamuk, the other dragon I travel with. And in truth, I can't exactly tell you which was the worst influence on the other, to be honest. But still, she grew to be a fine dragon, and her and Zamuk are still very close friends to this day. Something I'm very happy about, and in many ways proud of. Thinking about it more, perhaps this is how Tesh felt about me. Pride in seeing their successful student go out and do more of the same. Regardless, I think I'm getting dangerously close to my personal life, and none of us want that, so I'll end it there for now. Thank you for listening to my tales. I am the Ashspawn. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. But, till next we meet, fellow traveller. Have a good day.